Yeah, so first of all, I feel like Vermint's biggest problem in the current meta is that their early game is a bit weak, or they are struggling in the first 7 minutes, I would say,
Yeah.
because usually people tend to go for either tier 2 or tier 3, rushing out 2-1, or just going for fast pages and then calling, just let it go during the game. Just calling an 8 so it's not bad, but it comes a bit too late, I feel like, and not changing the world, not changing the game. So the MP40s actually grants you that you have a stronger early game. And people don't really like this vet one, but I am a real believer still. It got nerfed, but it's only 10 fuel more expensive and a little bit longer to tech, yeah, 45 seconds. I tend to go for double pioneers. You can go for a captain. That's also a good idea on more open and bigger maps like Twin Beaches or Samoa. But on the other maps, I would go double pioneers. The reason is that it's also cheaper a bit. You have more combat power in the beginning, and I am sure sometimes you felt like if you have one more pioneer in the first fight, you would have won that first engagement. So this is basically just this is why you build a second pioneer.
Right.
And also you are just getting the wet one. The pioneer's wet one is that they are going to capture faster, which is super nice.
Yeah, it's a lot more
Also, they
too.
are getting up faster, so in mid and late game, if they hit wet 2, they are just going to repair much faster, so it's also another benefit. So I would say I like to go Gran, MG, and 2 more Grans, but you can change it up. You can go double Gran and after an MG, but I think this is the best balance.
No, this is the best
Yeah.
because you want
Play
to
this.
you want to take the first fight with the you can win that first fight without taking damage. If you go double grin, you could
Yeah.
potentially lose health or lose models. I think this is the strongest, and especially with two pios to scout, you shouldn't have to take any damage. You should be able to just
Yeah, you also have more vision while you can uh, fight with the scouts, for example, if you are playing versus USF. Also, it's true that you have to really choose the fights what you are taking in the beginning. I would say it's better to wait until the first MP40 pop, which is around the 3 minute mark, and after that you can start to push or just gain territory. Also, if you have a good first engagement with your MG, you can easily just start pushing. Usually you are upgrading the MP40 on the second gun, which is just comes out perfectly when they are coming out. You can instantly just pop out the MP40 on them.
right. So it's got full health.
And after that, you will see that because of this build, you have a much stronger early game. Because as Brits, you are usually go for double engineer. If you go for a MG, that's also good. Some people tend to go double royal engineer after an MG and just after starting to building sections. But I feel like that's a bit slow, or maybe it's just me.
I mean, I'm surprised. I think to me, Dingo is almost mandatory to not lose the early game
Yeah,
as
and also
Brits.
this is why the double pioneer is a bit better because he can't really chase down the captain, and you won't have a, I would say, dead unit on the field.
Yeah, you can hit a mine too with the pios and not lose them. Well, not every time.
How you should play with this strat, I would say only 2 MP40s is enough. You don't need really the third one. Because you can always just move your guns with hand by hand. I would say one of the MP40s always moving with the non-upgraded one, and you can always just merge into the gun.
Yeah,
And the other one can move with the other pioneer. That's also usually in the first 6 or 7 minutes, one Pio and one Gran will beat any individual squad, for example, a section or an engine or anything like that. And also, you always want to sprint on the section or anything you are facing. So you always have to utilize these things. And after you just instantly have to go for the wet one. It's important because it takes quite a lot of time. This 45 seconds, it's quite a lot, but it's worth it. And the biggest power in this strat is the medkit on the grenadiers. People tend to sleep on it, I feel like, because it's nearly 2 times faster than the base heal. And you are not spending that much more, and all of your squads from tier 1 gets the wet one and also wets faster. So why should I tag this when I tag this? And it's nearly the same resource, if you see it.
Yeah. So is it five? I thought it was 4. How much do they heal a second? I thought it was like 4 something. You're saying it's more than
5.
that? Oh, it's 5.
It's
Okay,
5.
yeah.
And it lasts for 25 seconds. And usually you get it. As you can see, it just pops up. I'm always, as I said, moving the Gran and the Pioneer, and I'm just popping a heal. Also, I could do that I am moving these Grans in here, and everybody just gets the heal. And
Yeah.
I can stay on the field. That's the power of it. That I took damage, it doesn't matter. I am just staying on the field and holding the territories. And I would say it's never worth to go tier 3. It's quite many people started to go tier 3, but with this threat, it doesn't really make sense to go tier 3 because what you can build from it. You can build a Panzer Grenadier, a pack, and a half truck. What you can convert into a Stumma, but it would come a bit late, the Stumma, and it wouldn't do much because you usually bring the Stummel against infantry and you have already Mp40s, so you shouldn't have any problem dealing with any infantry in the first 7 minutes, I would say. And PGs nearly do the same job as the Mp40 Grants, just a bit better. They have a grenade, but they don't have a Faust and they don't have heal.
Right.
So that's why I would say tier 2 is better. Also, I would say it's worth to go for a later 2-1 because the Brit and the US player usually tend to go for a light vehicle, for example, a quad, a Greyhound, or a Humber. And if you are just upgrading the Panzerbüsche, you are just basically counter that light vehicle, or your opponent has to play a bit cautiously with the light vehicle.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Fozzie
am
wants to
sure-
know what your tech map button is.
This
is
is
it on
on
the mouse,
my
or-
mouse. Yeah,
Okay.
it's on the mouse. I am opening it too much, or
No, I think people just like to know. People like to be told
oh,
exactly.
I
How,
forget that,
you know, it's
you are
having to
streaming
decide
too.
yourself what button to put things on. Sometimes people aren't comfortable. They want to know, okay, what does my favorite player do? Do they put it on their mouse or whatever? So.
Yeah, I just forget that you are streaming. So
No,
that's
you're
why I
fine
asked.
hitting the tech map. He just want. I think it's genuinely people just like to.
I
know.
just like to open that people can see the whole picture.
Anybody who watches my stream is used to the tech map being opened all the time, so it's not not an issue.
And also, I don't know why, but grants drop models quite rarely, or maybe this is my experience, or I am just lucky, but if you are playing right, you can save a lot of manpower. As you can see, I could retreat 5 models with nearly 20% HP.
Yeah, I think you know what I think it is. I think it's close range. Damage gets spread differently than when you're at long range, and so if you're playing Mp40 grants, I think you're going to end up with more
Yeah,
spread
so
damage.
I suggest to go for a 2-1. It won't do much damage against infantry, but the role is just to counter any light vehicles.
Right.
And I am sure that you have the feeling when you are playing with a Greyhound and you just know that the Panzerbüsche is on the field. You can't push just so greedy into the enemy lines, because you can get snared, and after the snare, the Panzerbüsche is coming and your Greyhound will be dead. Especially the wet one, the white phosphorus, is super powerful throughout the game. And it does full damage on every vehicle, and it penetrates, if I am right.
Yeah, it seems like I don't know. I've never had it not go off.
It's quite hard to use because I would say the white phosphorus sometimes bugs out when an enemy vehicle is pushing on you, and you want to use the white phosphorus because it's just always just rotating, and it can shoot the wet one ability. So it's not really worth to try to shoot the enemy vehicle when he's pushing you, but with the wet one, usually the 2-to-1 is self spotting, so you can see where the enemy light vehicle is. You just activate your wet one on the enemy vehicle, so you are pushing with the ability, I would say. And in that scenario, I never had problem that it bugs out or anything like that.
Yeah.
In here, I went for 3 Mp40s, but 2 is enough. You can save the munitions for Panzerbusch and the Jägerschreck later on.
Victory point lost.
And from now, when you reach that point, I am already floating because I was experiencing with this build, and I was always trying something else, because before this game I played 4 or 5 matches with Zulu yesterday, and when I went for tier 3 into tier 4, I have lost 2 games versus Brits. To be fair, I feel like versus Brits, Axis can't really win the late game, because when the Brit tier 4 hits, and Foot Guards, Matildas, Crusaders, or even Grants coming out, you can't really stop it as Wehrmacht.
Yeah.
Or this is how I feel.
No, I think you have to close. You have to take an advantage in the mid game. Otherwise, you lose to the Brit tier 3 for sure. But you can. I mean, Brits early to mid transition is kind of crappy if you don't have, some specific battle groups and some specific good fights, I think.
Yeah, so that's why I would say when you are playing versus Brits as Wehrmacht, tier 2 is the best option, because you can go for a fast whirlwind, especially because this rapid production exists in this battle group, and I think it's a bit too powerful. Your 2-to-1 comes out faster, and versus Brits, I would say this 3 is the better one. Versus USF, I suggest to go for these 2 abilities first, and after the right ray. But you can also pick versus Blitz. It's also a super good ability, because it costs only 40 munitions, and every unit is capturing 2 times faster. And if you just have a good engagement, you can decap the whole map, and your opponent nearly has 0 resources after that.
Yeah.
Jaeger light infantry on station.
I would say it's quite a hard strategy to pull off, because your only heal is on the grants. So you really have to time these abilities when you activate them. But at the same time, you don't really have to wait the full reinforce, because you can already just move up with your infantry and just healing during the way. So it has a tempo. That's why I really like this strat.
Yeah,
Also, I am
not waiting
waiting
in
for
base
the MG.
is nice. You just
I
have
am
to
just
remember not to
popping the
merge.
heal. And then I am just moving up. That's it. And it's also, you shouldn't spam the ability. You always want to heal 3 or 4 squads with 1 heal. But you have already 3 grants, so one of your grants will be always on base. So you most likely always have heals on the base, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I've definitely found that if you keep them all alive, it's not you never have to upgrade heals.
So far, do you have any questions?
No, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, I tried this build a couple times yesterday, or the day before maybe, and I think my biggest struggle was like figuring out which fights to take, because grins are so squishy, and against Brits it's fine because I feel like you can just take any fight against the Tommies, but against rifles, it feels like you have to be kind of careful about like what kind of engagements you're taking, especially once the Greyhound comes out.
Yeah, you're totally right. But this is why I would say you never want to move your grants alone, like you do with Brits and with riflemen, because double bar rifles tends to win every fight you take. So you can easily just bar rifle here, so you just spread them around the map, and you are just flanking all around and winning every fight. So this is about double bar rifles, but you can do this with MP40s. You can still win engagements if you use the sprint ability, but it's quite 50-50, I would say, if you are
Yeah.
going to win a fight versus double bar rifles or not. But versus Blitz is definitely. Zulu is doing a great thing that he's upgrading all of his infantry sections with brands, because recce package wouldn't do much versus the grants.
Yeah.
So it definitely a right call. And also this is one of the reasons why you want to close the game versus Blitz, because before the final tech hits. Because if the sections get wet 3 or even wet 2, they are going to be scary and trading quite well versus the MP40 grants.
Yeah. So Fozzy asks a good question. What are you doubling up the grins with? But I guess the answer is anything, right? It could be a Pio, it could be an MG, it could be an MP40 grin with a regular grin, right?
Yeah, for example, one Jaeger and one MP40, you can always merge into the Jaeger just to reduce the bleed, because the Grand Reinforce is just 22 manpower and the Jaeger has 28. But you can double up your Grands with any elite squads. But the best is to move them with the Strohstruppens. That's the best combo.
Yeah.
But also with the Pioneers. But this is how you can win fights, if you move your squads like this. Also, at this point, I would use I have three MP40s now, but I would say 2 is enough. So one unupgraded with one MP40 and the other with the Jaeger. And you can always just go around and capping with the Pioneers. It's not always the best choice to move your Pioneers on the sides, because if there is a stronger squad, the Pioneers will lose 100% every time. So sometimes you just want to spot with them.
Yeah, I think people forget they have increased vision compared to most other any other non. So they have the same range as I think a lot of the recon squads, right?
Yeah. And also with this build, you always, if you have time, just put barbed wire where you can, put sandbags, just make your opponent's time harder and harder. So this is also another powerful thing, that every squad can wire and put sandbags down. Also, when I saw the first UART, I immediately just started to upgrade the Panzerbüsche, and I was a bit wrong with my timing, because I had to go back to upgrade the Shrek, but I was a bit greedy, I think. But I think I am going back now. And also in here, I am just popping a heal up, and the 50 HP Jaeger just going up and fight again.
Yeah. Another good question from Vazi. I think I have an answer, but I'm curious what you think. He asks when you do sweeper or flamer, because you don't have sweepers or flamers, but I mean, there hasn't been any mines from Zulu. So I know for me, like, the times that I get sweeper, or I think you should get it once your first vehicle comes out, so you can sweep for it. And then flamer is more about if you need to win fights against buildings or green cover. But in this build in particular, where like you're looking for a Shrek and multiple MP40s, I think you would delay the sweeper and the flamer more than
MP40
usual.
is the priority,
Yeah.
as you said. The first two MP40. The third one is ideal. You can do it, but it's not a must as you feel. But in my opinion, 2 is enough after playing like more than 10 games with this threat. And also, this map is quite good for the MP40s because of the corners where you
lots
can
of line
hide
of sight
in
blockers.
the middle, line of sight blockers, and also the munitions. I would say not the safest, but you can protect them. So you have a stable munition income. Like on Twin Beaches, this threat is it's quite a rough map for this threat, because usually on Twin Beaches the munitions on the side and on the middle, but on the middle there's only +5s, so it's not the best. But for example, on Villa Fiore, Feymanville, even on Road to Tony, Spocino, this threat works quite well. And in here, if you think about as a Brits, you can't do much anything differently, because usually Brit players like to go for a Humber. if the Humber comes out, you have the Panzerbüchse, and you usually get the Jaeger with the Shrek. So you have two counters versus the Humber, and also you have three Shreks. So, I mean Faust. So if you just can get a Humber off guard and you just Faust them, you can easily just finish it off with the Panzerbüchse, or even with two shots you can kill the Humber. So if you are going for a Stuart, it's not a bad call, but also it can't really pen the verbal wind in my experience, or it is really inconsistent. Or
It's got pretty bad pen.
so the Stuart not really counters the. As you can see, the Stuart just bounced on the side.
It's got
And
50
even
far
if-
pen, so yeah, 50%.
Yeah,
On the
so
frontal
from
armor.
front it's not much. Even bouncing on the side armor and only dealing 80 damage if I'm right. So it's
Mhm.
not a good counter versus the verbal wind. You have to shot it how many times? 7?
80. It's 80 damage,
eight.
so more. I think it's more. Wait, now I gotta look.
And
What is
you
this?
have to penetrate. So if you just bouncing, you're never gonna kill a verbal wind with a Stuart.
8 shots, yeah.
Yeah. And in here, Zulu went for the Centaur. To be fair, if you are just always backing up, it won't do any damage versus the tanks. But you don't have to be afraid if you don't have a real counter at the moment. Because of the rapid production, you can always just click on the martyr and you have a counter in 10 seconds. So
Yeah, man,
you
being able to
don't
build
have
a
to really-
martyr, not having to build it blind is such a good feeling.
Yeah, so I would say the best is to stay around 200 manpower because you have the ability to react for a for a tank, for example. If your USF is other thing, because there I wouldn't suggest to go for verbal wins because Cheffies exist and your opponent is going to be a 2 or 3 Cheffies and right click you and you are dead basically.
Yeah.
But the Brits can do that. But if I am seeing a Stuart, it's also I am happy for it because I know the last tech structure is going to be delayed as Brits. So I don't have to be afraid of any Crusader or Matilda, which would be a threat for me. And if you just see the army difference, this Wehrmacht army is a lot more dangerous. Even if you call in the Panzer IV, I don't know if you know what bonuses it gives you. Or
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't know if
armor,
you ever
right?
used it. Yeah,
And then
armor and also rate of fire, and it works.
If
super
something
good with the
dies, I
verbal things.
thought. Is it just
Uh,
ROF
ho-
if something dies, or no, the active ability you're talking about?
Yeah, it has a weapon ability.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever gotten that far with it. Usually when I call it in, it's either the game's over, or either I'm about to win or
Yeah.
I'm about to lose.
Yeah, this is the strat actually, but Havok tend to use 1 or 2 patches before. Maybe it was 1.5, I don't remember exactly, but this is the build versus Brits. But I wouldn't do the same versus USF.
So versus USF, would you go tier 3 or would you just skip the Werbel?
With this threat, tier C is never worth it in my opinion. It's always better to go for the 2-1 Panzerbüchse. Because versus USF, you're most likely going to face riflemans. So if you are playing with USF, but your not opener, sorry, but your reaction for MP40s, you most likely go for fast bars, for double bars, or a Greyhound. But if you see a Greyhound, you already have a Panzerbüchse, so you're not in a trouble, and also you can get a Jägerschreck. But if your opponent just simply goes for double bars, you are happy because the Greyhound will be delayed, so you don't have to be afraid of any light vehicle. But when the US riflemen starting to be scary on your MP40s, you can easily just call in Strosstruppen with the half track at the 3 CP. So it's also super powerful, and the Strosstruppen just with a Grenadier who is already just merging into the Strohstuppen, it's nearly a Terminator squad in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems really strong.
So you have plenty of options. Also, I wrote it again, but also you can go for a Jaeger or a Flak 30. Can be super nice on some maps. I would say it's better versus Blitz because
More immobile.
I would say because USF has a mortar, which and also the airburst is exist, and this is just a huge threat for the Flak 30, and you just always have to move it back and forth. When you hit the point, because USF, when playing versus the USF, I would go for the 251. So you have forward reinforce and forward heal, so you can just manage your Flak 30, so it's not going to be dead after the first barrage. In here, I knew that I can finish the game because he went for a Stuart. He doesn't have a rear counter for 2 verbal wins. He can just build a 80 gun. Basically, that's the only counter versus that. And in here, I am just waiting for the P4 and just doing constant pressure, not letting him just take the map. And also, it was super nice that Zulu is utilizing this, what it's called?
It's forward field infirmary. Field infirmary.
I haven't used it much, but does it cost fuel or?
No,
it's
125 manpower and that's it. It's really good.
Yeah, especially on this map because you don't have to always just have to retreat back to the base. You can just coming from here, and it's nearly a forward reinforce. So it's nice. You can hold the map, and your most important territory is better than usual. But at the same time, it's harder to push your opponent's side of the map because you always have to go around. Because if you are coming in this way, the MG can be here, which can be shut down this flank. So it has benefits and disadvantages too. I think this is when I just call in the command tank.
Would you ever get a second Jaeger? And if so,
second
when?
Jaeger?
Yeah.
Only when my opponent would start spamming light vehicles. For example, when a US player would just spam Chaffees and Greyhounds, I would immediately just build a second Jaeger with Shrek. So, and that with Steve Faust, that would deal with the light vehicles. And also in the best scenario, you have a Panzerbüsche too, if you haven't lost it. And after that, I would go for a straight tier 4 versus USF and getting P4s and trying not to die to Chaffees. But yeah, if your opponent spamming light vehicles, that means riflemen won't have bars. And if the riflemen won't have bars and you have a vet to Mp40 guns, the Mp40 guns will win versus the non-upgraded riflemen. So also, it can be scary that many light vehicles is on the field, but on the infantry sides, you will be stronger.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Fozzie asks if it's Jaeger or not an infantry fight late game tanks, and the answer is no. They buffed the, with the frontal armor on things like the Matilda and the 105 Sherman. You can't really use. You're just gonna bleed if you use Shreks into that.
Yeah, but with this threat and overall as Wehrmacht, I would say your goal has to be to stop the split player to go the final tech structure, because after that, in the long run, you are going to lose. I think the Brit player has to seriously misplay to lose a game in late game versus Wehrmacht or even versus Deck. Deck is in a bigger trouble, in my opinion.
That's why I like playing Brits. As long as I don't fuck up too badly, I can usually win.
Yeah, just say it. Sorry.
But so I was just debacle was asked. So Max von Jaeger, but no. So the answer is, it depends, right? Like you already have 3 Mp40, 3 Grens, 2 are Mp40.
Yeah.
So you four infantry squads is to me kind of the magic number because 3 mainline is the minimum. 4 means you now have an extra, which means if you lose one, you're not in a terrible position. Going up to 5, I actually do it a lot, and I think it's a mistake, and I think I end up floating fuel because of it. And we can see in this game that F3riG's power curve is pretty smooth, and he doesn't ever really float a lot of manpower. He floats just enough to reinforce or to replace something. Whereas if you get a second trek and you have 5 infantry squads, I think you're going to end up reinforcing a lot and maybe running out of manpower before you run out of fuel. And you never want to do that. You always want to be able to spend your fuel immediately, most of the time.
Yeah, I think with Wehrmacht, 5 infantry squad it's manageable because you always can merge into the more expensive units. So it's not that expensive to run a Strosstruppen, I would say, because Strosstruppen itself, how much is the reinforce? It's over 30, I would say. I don't know the exact number, but
42, I think. It's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot. But if you are just merging, it's basically another Grand Squad. So it's and most likely the Strosstruppen will trade very well. So you, if you have a longer match, my Strosstruppen tend to kill has over 30 or 40 kills. So it definitely pays off. Yeah, I was at the command P4, so it is a passive ability that gives 20% rate of fire and armor, and when a vehicle dies it just grants more rate of fire, but you have to move your verbal winds and your P4s together.
Yeah, it's pretty small, huh? Pretty small radius.
Yeah, you can see this red circle, but if you are just blocking and you are just moving a depth block with double verbal winds and command P4 is in the middle, that shouldn't be a problem. And from that one you can also just activate his that one,
Wow.
which is a little bit bigger than this red circle.
I didn't realize it was
I would say
20% ROF. That's crazy. That's so fucking
It
good.
hits right there. But it lasts only 30 seconds, but only 30 munitions, so... And imagine just getting this 20% harder to hit and activating the Blitzkrieg ability.
That's so broken.
And you get 40% rate of fire, and while it already gives you 20%, so it's 60% rate of fire bonus
Oh my god.
on the verbal winds.
Oh my god.
So, and it also makes the tanks harder to hit 35%, and it makes this ability is more 20%, so it's 55% harder to hit. So basically it means that every tank is going to miss the verbal winds.
That's
your
so
tanks.
wild.
And it's also quite cheap. It's only lasts for 30 seconds, but in here I wouldn't say it wasn't an optimal play, that because my P4 and my verbal wind was not by each other, but I think it worked. Yeah, I just saw the 80 gun just setting up. I pushed up with the Mp40s and everything I had. My Jaeger was coming from the flank, and basically you just have to activate it because I knew that he has only 2 or 6 stewards. And basically if he wants to counter my verbal winds, his only option is the 80 gun if you are playing as Blitz. So if you kill the 80 guns,
Yeah,
you don't have any counter versus the verbal winds or the P4. Also the HE run just penetrating all the light vehicles in this game.
Yeah. Someone asked about if you're like waiting to counter Zulu's pushes or if you're deciding to push in from the fog of war, but I think it's one of those questions where it depends, right? Like if you see an opening, you take an opening. If you know there's a timing, you take a timing.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't, there's not like I'm gonna wait or I'm gonna push. It just depends on like your enemy's comp and your comp and the state of the game.
Yes.
Like he said here, he saw an exposed AT gun, so that's an opportunity to push.
Yeah, and also you can always be around with your pioneers, which can grant you vision. But the other thing, what I haven't built in this game, but I tend to build now, is the mortar, just to backtacking for a mortar, which is super nice because it has a flare from that one, and you already
bought that one?
The officer quarter. So after the 2-1 and after the Jaeger, you can go for a mortar. Versus
Okay,
Breach is
interesting.
better because with infantry sections you most likely fighting from cover to cover.
Yeah.
Because they have a flat DPS line, so you won't push with the infantry sections, you have to stay in cover. And the mortar is just perfect to counter that. Also, it has a smoke which helps the MP40 pushes. Also, if your opponent has a Vickers, you can just easily just counter it. And also, if you just put a flare, for example, like this, you see everything, and it's much easier to make a good push.
Yeah.
And that flare is also it's free, and it has a 3 minute cooldown, but it's super nice. And from now, the Brit player can't really do much because he lost the only counter, and from now it's GG.
Yeah, and I think, so Fozzie, talking about, I mean, F3riG points out that, you can give yourself vision with the pios. And I think this is where a lot of newer players struggle is in tracking their opponent's build. Because you don't have to see everything. You just have to see some key units. Like, for example, you don't need to know where every Tommy is, right? You need to know where, for example, the AT is. And if you know, okay, I know where all the anti-tank units are, and this one's out of position, then you can make a push without knowing necessarily where all the Tommies are, right? It's just about being aware of what are the threats to, say, my Whirlwind. And for example, here, because there's no boys squads, you don't have to worry about that. But if there was a boys squad on the map, you might say, okay, I know that the boys squad is capping this VP, and I know that this AT gun's out of position.
Yeah,
Whereas if I didn't know
exactly.
where the boys squad was, I might not dive an AT gun, because if the boys squad is waiting behind it and there's a snare, then I could lose the Whirlwind. So yeah, it's you don't have to know where every unit is, but you need to know enough basically to make an informed decision about when to push.
Yeah, and basically, if your opponent has a boy squad, you don't have to be afraid, because if you have double Whirlwinds with a P4 and you are just diving on it with the Blitzkrieg and the passive buff, you are just going to kill the boy squad in literally seconds. Also, the AT gun.
It's your boys is a soft counter to the
Yeah.
Whirlwind. Almost paper
This is the
thin.
build versus Blitz. So I would say you have to go for a Whirlwind, because as I said, you are going to lose if the tank's going to hit the field.
Right, so you got to close
And
it.
yeah, and you always have to make constant pressure with your MP40s, capping the map, capping the victory points. Also, if you can make a good push, you can just pop this ability, just decapture everything. Even you can capture it if you just made that good of a push. So yeah, you basically have to snowball and keep the tempo up with this strategy.
I bet
But
the
not,
pios stack too, so you're getting 266% capture rate on the pios with that ability.
I don't
right?
know if it's stacking up, but yeah, maybe you are right. And as you can see, I am just using one heal and just moving up. My squad's not even fully healed, but on the run they just going to be healed up. But I will sure replay. Hopefully I have it from yesterday.
Upcoming tournaments, I actually think tournaments are a lot of work. What I'm going to do is some show matches, like King of the Hill style stuff. I'm just going to invite, I'm going to do a couple of contender bouts and then have two people play, and then people will challenge that person. So kind of KOTH style. F3riG, you'll be one of the first people invited if I do get that together, if you're interested.
I appreciate it, thank you. Yesterday I played versus one match versus Dumais. It wasn't the best build. I was a bit tired, just to make an excuse. But what happens when your opponent plays versus USF? I think it was clear what's your build versus Brits, or what your plan is with this threat.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you have any questions, Daniel, or in the chat?
No, people are asking about the med bunker, but it's pretty clear that
Med bunker
triple
is
grin
nice, but
triple grin's enough healing though, and you usually need the mini for something else.
yeah, if you have the manpower and the munitions for it, you can do that. But most likely, you need the munitions for Shreks, MP40s, the Panzerbüsche, potential mines, the breakthrough ability, the Blitzkrieg. So you have plenty of things where you can spend your munitions, and it costs 75. So it's not really worth it in my opinion if you have 3 heals on the guns.
Yeah, and you can always go. If you're going to get the Staus call in, which you are against US, then that's another source of healing that's cheaper than building the bunker.
Yeah, the reason why I say this is the better tree versus USF, because I feel like there is no reason to go multiple light vehicles, for example, multiply Verbals and P4s, because as I said, if your opponent just builds two Cheffies, you are basically totally countered.
Yeah.
And most likely you are going to lose your Verbal wins, because your opponent just going for Armored, his chef is just 225 manpower and he pops up the Seek and Destroy and you can't really do much against it. But if he builds two or three chefs and you don't have light vehicles, what is he going to destroy with them?
Yeah. And
So
people always build
basically
them blind, so ends up being
yeah,
a waste.
so at the same time, when in the beginning you have a straight build order, after that you have to rely what your opponent is building. So you basically have to counter build them, if I can say that.
Yeah.
Because if you can do that, your opponent will have a dead unit, so it means that you have one more unit. Also on this map, I would say double pioneer is better.
Stages are available for grenadier squads.
Okay. It
I
is a
don't know
it is a
overall
pretty
with this
wide
build.
map, but there's a lot of buildings, so I don't know. Maybe you want to look for Flamer or something.
It wasn't an ideal match for this strat because I struggled with munitions, and I had to choose my where I am going to spend my munitions, so it was quite hard.
Yeah, I think going for the plus 16 side probably makes more sense if you're going to do this strategy.
Which one is better, with Fog of War or without?
I like with
Which one do
Fog
you
of War.
prefer?
Yeah.
Okay, I am going to just. Also, that's basic. I don't know if I mentioned it, but you want to prioritize the munitions with this build because of the fast MP40s.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky map on Pacino because you have to play around the center, but also you want to capture these side munitions. But if you lose the center, you use the fuel. It's basically GG
Yeah,
on this map.
Fozzie asks about double pile versus Ketten in 2v2. I think the Ketten vision is so important in 2v2 that someone on your team needs to get that or a bike, but the Ketten vision is better. I think
Yeah,
it's
in
more
2v2 I
important in
definitely
twos.
would go for a Captain, but in 1v1s that's a different cup of tea.
Yeah, every combat unit matters in 1v1. In 2v2, utility kind of starts mattering more. Relatively. I mean, obviously, you need utility and combat in both game modes, but the
And
Ketten's an artillery multiplier.
for example, in here I saw a rifleman which is capping the munitions, and that was another rifleman who is most likely is around here. And I just started to rotate because my second gun with the MP40s is coming out. And I knew that none of my guns going to win a fight versus a rifleman one-on-one. So you always want to double up with your MP40s.
Do you feel like you can win that? One MP40 Gren, one Gren against two rifles?
Yeah, definitely. I am sure. If you
Push
can,
with the Ketten, actually.
yeah, if you can coat of guard the riflemans, for example, in here, you're definitely going to win. I wouldn't say it's worth when both of the rifles is behind green cover and you are just pushing in. That's stupid in my opinion. But if you have a situation like this, you can easily do that. The MP40. And also you can easily just push the Pioneer. If
Yeah.
he's not your opponent not paying attention and he's not backing off and what's the word for it?
Kiting?
Kiting, yeah. He's not kiting back, you're definitely going to win the fight. So in here, just it was the perfect timing. The MP40 just popped, and his rifle just coming up.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed
And,
about
and
Dumais is like he always looks to take fights because most of the time he's just going to out micro people. But you really can't take those early fights against the MP40s.
yeah, and in here I am already ahead because I could retreat both squads. I can cap the map with the Captain. With two big munitions. If I have enough CP, I would have just choose
Pop
this and
breakthrough
maybe
here,
just
yeah.
pop it. Yeah, so I can just utilize this. So this is the kind of situations when you wanna pop the breakthrough ability. It's basically a no-brainer, I would say. But I knew that because he went for the early mortar, so you don't want to play your MGs in the middle because the mortar is usually behind the church, and you don't want to let the mortar just barraging your MG 24/7. So I would say it's better to move your MG to the sides where there is no counter. So again, I am capturing with the Gran and with the Captain and with the full MP40 squad. I think this is where the mortar was. Yeah, he just moved it a little bit back.
Man, that's such a good. This is something I'm glad you said this, and I'm just going to say this out loud because for anyone watching who's trying to also learn, vocalizing things you're working on can be really helpful. It's one thing to just listen. The reason that teachers make you take notes is because like translating your learning into another form is how you retain information. And so I'm just going to say out loud this thing that F3riG said that's really helpful for me. I have a lot of trouble on Tunis against mortars because I want to put my MG in the middle of the map. And I think I need to start using my MG to hold the north or south of Tunis, or on this case, the sides of this map. I think I have this desperate need to. You want to control the middle of the map always, and so I just always move my MG to the middle. But sometimes you can't. Yeah, so I gotta be better about making sure my MG is at least making the mortar move somewhere uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I am sure you know that feeling when you want to push the side, but the MG is always in another spot, so you never know.
A new spot every time. Yeah, that's a key thing.
Yeah,
that's part of my. Maybe you can help me, dude, because I think you're pretty good at using MGs. I'm gonna do an MG. Everyone's asked about like how do I use MGs, and that's one of those tips that's gonna go in the video. Is every time the MG chases a squad off, it has to move.
Yeah, for example, on this side on Pacino, it's quite open, I would say. It has some shot blockers, but for example, this is a good position for the MG. If you just want to be more aggressive, you can put it here. Even you can put it into this crater. If you have some units which can spot for the MG, but also you can put into the edge of the map. But it's a bit risky because if you know that your opponent has a light vehicle and your MG is on the side, you can easily just go on the retreat, and the light vehicle just pushing your MG, and you are going to lose the MG. So you need the perfect balance. How aggressive you want to play with your MG. So
yeah, once light vehicles come out, then you either need mines or you need to make sure you're keeping a unit near it, basically.
yeah, and to be honest, when I am playing, I am paying attention more on my opponent units, not even on mine, because if I know where my opponent unit is, so it's hard to describe. But in English it's called game sense, but in Hungarian it's different. But I am trying to imagine the map where his units can be, and after years I usually just predict well, but
you're anticipating his next move.
Yeah, because for example, in here I knew that his mortar will be around his base or around here, so I just jumped into this house just to check if I see anything, if there is any units hiding around or like that. And also I retreated one scout squad in here and 2 riflemen, so 3 units in his base, and I saw only 1 in here. So at this point, nearly all his squads is at his base, so I can just cap and just take the best positions. So the other reason that I knew that he has only 1 unit in here, or maximum 2, that if I am pushing with the Gran and the MG, and the MP40 Gran in the church can come and help on the flank, it's nearly a secured side or part of the map. And see that I am doubling up again, so this is how you do engagements versus riflemen, or this is the only way how you can win engagements.
Right, the MG or more units.
Yeah, so you always want to double up. It won't always work, but you have to look for these opportunities.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best fight, for example. It would be better just to jump into this house and just waiting.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it took a lot of damage on that squad. Not the end of the world,
Yeah.
though. I mean, this is what's nice about the Vet 1. It's like you lost 2 models and you're going to heal, and it's like very
Yeah,
little.
because if I am jumping into this house, most likely I am maximum losing 1 models. I can jump out the house and just heal. But when I just jumped out, I saw the Rangers. So I knew that I just have to retreat. There is no reason just to stay in here.
Lost control of the victory point.
Yeah, I even just soft retreated because I knew that there is a squad can heal.
Yeah. Debacle, by the way, where this is hard to do. I know F3riG's making it look easy, but I think Wehrmacht's probably the hardest faction to play in the first 7 minutes right now. Doesn't it's not as hard as Dak overall, but don't feel bad that you're struggling with Wehr. It's a hard
Yeah,
faction.
this is definitely not a beginner-friendly strat because you have to micro your clans, you have to pick your engagement quite wisely. So you can't just run into every rifleman with MP40s and win every fight. That's the USF thing with double bars. So
Yeah,
you can't do that as well.
if it was easy, I wouldn't need F3riG's help. I would just do it myself.
Also, you have to be cautious with your manpower, when to merge, when to pop the heals, just to make the most value out of it,
Yeah.
where you move your squads. It's hard, not gonna lie. And in here I knew that there is a ranger, that I need an MG in this point.
Victory sector lost.
But to be fair, many people is afraid of rangers, but I am not that much because it means that he went for heavy early game, if I can say that will delay the Greyhound, for example, or the double bars. Or most likely you are not even going to face the double bar rifles if you see a ranger, because it's not worth to go for the bars where you can drop weapons with the rangers. But definitely my goal was in here just to suppress the ranger with the MG.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not. Now, nice smoke from him makes the Rangers stronger, but yeah, I agree. Rangers are. I like knowing what my enemy's doing, and when I see Rangers, I know so much. And their one point of power is once you see the Rangers, you know exactly what you have to do. It makes the game very simple.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if he just makes one mistake with the rangers, you basically have the map, because every unit you have MP40s versus non-vetted
Yeah, vanilla
riflemen
rifles.
without bars. So in that scenario, you can easily just one by one every rifleman on the map with your MP40s. He made a bit misplay. I guess he didn't see my MG.
I think
and
the smoke
could just
blocked
suppress them.
the vision. Yeah.
Forces have captured a victory point.
Yeah, and from here that I knew that one mortar is in the middle, and the most important squad is just retreating, that I can push the middle. So that was the idea with 3 squads. And I am capturing the sides with the captain. Also, that was my mistake in this match, because I played 4 or 5 matches versus Brits, and I forget that I think that's a basic rule, just to always go for the 2-1.
Yeah, flag's
Because-
hard to use on this map, I think.
Yeah, the 2-1 is also nice to have because it's so cheap. It's not expensive. You can deal a bit of infantry damage to
Yeah.
the captain and to the scout. And
If
of
the
course,
ranger
you can
doesn't get a
scout.
zook, it counters the rangers pretty well.
Yeah, you can kite the rangers or even dive them. I don't know how. I have to test it, because the Thompsons can deal quite a lot of damage to the 2-1. But just the reason that to get the 2-1, just to counter the Greyhound, a possible Greyhound with the
Mhm.
Panzerwüste. So that was a mistake, for example, just to going for a flag. But I went for the flag because of the Rangers, but it wasn't a must, I feel like. And as I said, when the Ranger just retreated, I knew that I can push. But this is what you never want to do with this threat, because this is literally a scam. Because you are
Yeah, it
spending
takes so
45
long.
munitions for a really
Could've
bad
popped-
grenade. So
Could have popped breakthrough.
Yeah. Yeah, for example, I could pop a breakthrough just capturing the map. I was a bit sleepy on that. But
So-
you never wanna use this. It's never worth it.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize it was 45. I always wonder why I ran out of muni. I'm glad we looked at that. Fozzie asks why this is better against USF than mechanized, and I would say, Fozzie, that it's not that it's necessarily better. I think the Wehrmacht has a lot of options, and the strength of this ability, or this battle group and this style, is that Wehrmacht's weakness is the first 5 to 7 minutes. And this strategy, if you play it well, is strong in the first 5 to 7 minutes. So the idea is you're removing the vulnerable point of Wehrmacht's early, power curve, and getting yourself to a strong mid game where you should be able to then win the map and then go into late game with a lead, and you win the game with the Brumbar if you don't win it with the P4. That's the idea. Whereas mechanized, you're waiting till 3 CP for your strength, and so you're basically on the back foot until minute 8, instead of being on the front foot for the first 6 or 7 minutes, right? Right? Is that pretty close to
that's
the idea?
And to be fair, even the F3 comes out, there is a Greyhound on the field, and to be fair, Armored is just counters every light vehicle playing on the opposite side. Because one good Cheffy dives and your F3 is going to die, so, and you haven't, what's the right word? You didn't make any huge impact on your opponent with those F3s.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to try it, but that strat is definitely slower, because even when you are going wet one on your grants, you won't have MP40s, so you still can't win fights versus the riflemans.
Although
and
I have a lot of
comes
success.
Out late.
Yeah, I will say I think that strat is good if it fits your playstyle, because I have won a lot of games with it. So
yeah, it can be. I think it's better versus Blitz, to be fair.
Definitely,
versus USF, it's a bit harder, especially if your opponent is playing tier C armored. Yeah, and Duma is just going for the Greyhound. That's the right call in here, because he's struggling with infantry and he knows that I don't have any real counter against it. And in here, for example, I would say it would be a better choice to just build a 2-2-1. Because I have 50 munitions, I can build the Panzerbusch if I need. But going for a Jaeger...
Yeah, you're going to have no Fausts when you upgrade.
It would be great if I am not just spending the munitions for this Grenadier, so I would have the munitions. So, guys, never use this. This is a scam. It's never worth it.
It doesn't kill it. There's too much scatter, too. It's like half the time it misses.
And in here, it was that Greyhound surprised me, and then he just pulled up a Grade 5.
Yeah, nice grenade.
But this is why you are going for the 3 Grenadiers, because you still have 2 heals, and most likely you are going to merge the Grants into more expensive squads. So I'm going to get the Strosstruppen later, so I have 1 Grenadier with the Jaeger and 1 with the Strosstruppen, so that's the perfect combination. Block 30 can be nice to counter light vehicles, so it holds back the Greyhound quite well, or the Humber or anything like that.
Yeah, it does a ton of damage to the Greyhound.
Yeah, for example, in here, I made some bad choices. I knew that I am behind because of the Greyhound and the Grand Vibe. So when this happens, you need time, so you have to be a bit more passive, just try to just save time when you are just jumping into a house, and just let the Greyhound just not doing nothing, but not doing serious damage.
Yeah, try to stall. Fozzie asks why you didn't Faust there, and the answer is because it's not going to damage the engine of the Greyhound. It didn't. Yeah, it needs the munitions too. It's like you shouldn't. People, I know that like Loveness used to say in Code 2 you should always Faust for the vet. I don't think it's worth it in Co 3. You can buy Vet 1 for a lot of your units, right? All these grants already have Vet 1. I don't think you get a ton of XP from the Faust, and the munitions are just better spent on either actually snaring it or like F3riG's saying, upgrading the Panzerfaust or the Panzerschreck here.
It was in Co 2 and the snares worked differently in Company of Heroes too. So the light vehicles got engine damage, but in here only the Humber gets some engine damage after the Faust.
Oh, do they always engine damage? Yeah, exactly, Fozzie. It's like if you're going to engine damage it, then you're really you're slowing down the vehicle doing stuff, especially against USF because he doesn't have an engineer. But if you're going to Faust it and do 70%, it's going to be at 70%. It's like it just doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything.
You used to say that I am going to Faust that vehicle whatever it takes, so he just always memeing on these guys. So
Yeah.
We are always laughing at it, but I think it's not worth it to just, you see a vehicle, just Faust it.
No,
You have
I'll
to
bait. I
have to
bait
choose.
fast sometimes. I'll specifically, if I know that I'm ahead and that I have cover for my vehicle, I will drive into snare range and let them snare me because I want them to burn muni
Yeah.
on that.
I used to do that just to waste my opponent's munitions, because, for example, if there is a rifleman and I am pushing with a whirlwind and I have a pioneer, just snare me. It doesn't matter because I am just gonna repair it in 10 seconds. So and
Yeah,
he just wasted 30 munitions.
yeah, it adds up.
Yes. So for example, it was a bad call just to go for a 2-1 because I am going to have a shack and I won't have munitions for the panzer bushes. So for example, it was a misplay from me. But if you just check the VP count, it was a quite good early game with those early pushes. So this is the strong part of this strat.
Yeah. So would you get the 2-1 later, or would you feel that because the Shrek alone isn't enough to counter the M8, right? And it's like you're going to chase it around all day and never kill it. Are you comfortable playing just one Shrek against the M8?
You can be more mobile with the 2-1. It's super fast, and also it's a huge threat to all light vehicles on the map because it's safe spot from that
Right. So you'd wait on the Shrek and go for the Panzerbuska first. You're saying.
one. The build definitely is 2 Pio, 3 Gran, 1 MG, and after tier 2, and after going for the 2-1. It doesn't matter that it comes out late. That's not the role. I
Right.
am not because even if I am getting a 5-minute 2-1, if the US player or the Brit player has snare, the 2-1 is basically dead. So that's why I don't really like that gamble just to pushing the 2-1 into another squad
Right.
in just point blank action, because you never know when the USF has a snare or grenades, and most likely, in my experience, people tend to go to attacking nades after the third or the fourth rifle. So basically, every USF player nowadays have a snare.
Yeah. People are
The
sick
first 5
of
minutes
losing
of the
rifles to
game.
the 2-1, so they do it now.
In here, I am going to lose the cat, and I have to improve, for example, my cat templates, because sometimes I'm getting too greedy when I just have to use for the vision. But yeah, I would say you have to play a bit more passive with your captain around the 10-minute mark, because you
Right.
can't really make that greedy pushes when you just capping, and it's also not worth if you just pushing in and just decapture the 60 munitions, because if the rifle is just popping out the fog of war or you just hit the mine, it's never worth it. So back into the build order, you always want to go 2-1 first, and after you can decide. It's your choice, and it also depends on what your opponent is going to build. A Jaeger can be nice even if you don't have munitions for a Shrek. It deals quite decent damage to enemy squads. It's an elite squad, if I can say that. It has 110 HP, so
Yeah. Pretty beefy.
it's fine. And you can always merge the clans into the Jaegers. For example, in here, this was the second or third time when I just sent my MG into here. In these type of situations, it's better to just switching sides always constantly, because then your opponent will never know where the MG is, and this is the power of the MG, that your opponent won't know where is the MG. Yeah, but you surely don't want to play your MG in the middle, for example, unless you want to make a big push and just put your MG into the church, because the mortar will be always in the middle. This is where the mortars are the most efficient. And I saw that the Greyhound is here. I immediately started to rotate my Jaeger shack to the other side of the map. And if I am right, do my AS is making a misplay in here? Or this is not in here. But I could catch the Greyhound, if I am right. Yeah, also sometimes you just want to pop into the house just to check where his units are.
Yep.
And after just going back, pop a heal, or right here.
Shock veterans have been relinquished.
And in here I could bait the Greyhound. And there was my shack,
Oops,
and he
yeah.
just tried to push in. And this is what I am saying, even if I am not doing an engine damage, this Greyhound might go down. And from here I am back into the game. Even I would say I am up, because I just called in the Strostruppen call-in, and he doesn't have a real counter against it. He even beat the Chaffee, for example.
Yeah.
And the Chaffee basically can only kill the 2-1 and the half track.
I think this is a classic. I mean, everybody, or 90% of players in your position would go Werble here and not Stas. So I think the
Yeah, but
you know,
you
makes sense
always
to go
have to think
Chaffee.
about, what's the point of going for a verbal? Does it benefit you? And after the answer is no. But why you building it? Because you are just used to, and in auto match many people just tend to do the same build order and not thinking about what my opponent is actually building, because you have to react to that. Also, Dumayas is using the airburst super decently. He always just predicted where my units are going, and he just popped out the airburst, so it's a huge thumbs up, for example, for that. You can also not just airburst stationary targets, like you can predict.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah, but I really struggled with munitions. This is why, for example, in here I floated quite many manpower. I would just build a mortar. It's also nice to just counter your enemy mortar. It starts at that one. You can use the flare, you can use the smoke, as I said. So it's worth to go for a mortar as well, not just as USF.
Rapid production protocols are in effect.
And for example, in here, it's fine to have a bit of stall time, because I was waiting for the heal. I didn't have munitions to upgrade the half track.
Yeah, this is nice. That's the nice thing of having a strong. This is another reason why I think having a strong early game is good. You know, like a lot of the Brit games that I lose are because I just don't have quite enough VPs to be patient like I need to. But if you have 400 VPs at minute 10, then it's okay to wait a little bit and wait 20 seconds to get your heal off. Right? It just gives you that time you need to set up
Yeah, it's
properly.
much
As we're
better.
mocked.
And also in this situation, I would go always with one Strostrup and one Gran, and the other Jäger with the other Gran.
Right.
But ideally, you have 3 Grenadiers. And with the third Gran, you can play around the MG and spot for the MG, or the Pioneer MG. It depends on what you feel and what you like, how you like to play, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't think
There
I do
is
the buddy
plenty of
system enough
options.
as we're mocked. I gotta do that. That's another good thing to note. Keeping pairs of units.
And the Strostrupen just counters the Ranger so much, because it just kills the Ranger in long range.
Feels good.
And in here, the best choice, as I said, just going for a mortar, and then I am not floating that much, and just stacking tier 4 and spamming P4s.
We have a surplus of command points
But
available.
the game would be also different. For example, if Dumayas is going for the armored battle group and spamming Greyhounds and Chaffies, I would have just go for multiply Jaegers, because you want to counter the light vehicles, and that's the best counter you have, just to go for multiply tracks. Even if I have 2 or 3 or even more units from tier 2, I would even take the wet one on them.
Right.
Because it makes your Jaeger's cloak, they are going to deal more damage to the light vehicles. And if I can say that, the ball is not on me, but he has to push in. But it's hard to push when you don't know where the Jaegers are, and you're just making one misplay and you are already 1 unit done. So yeah, I would say I have a better chance to win that type of situation. It's always harder to play with multiply light vehicles, and that was
Yeah,
a
the
demo charge.
micro burden's on you.
Yeah,
The guy with the Shreks can just A-click and maybe win.
yeah, and you can just be brain dead and just spamming verbals when the best thing when you are playing armored is that your opponent is spamming verbals.
Yeah, there was a meme about that on my server. I'll see if I can find it.
Does anybody has any questions so far? Or why I am doing or saying anything like I am saying?
We have lost control of the victory
I
point.
think we've done a pretty good job so far covering all the basics. But that doesn't mean you guys can't ask questions if you have questions, obviously. But yeah, no, it don't make sense. And so you said you were just gonna you would spam P4s. Why P4 over the Brumbar? Is it because you're expecting maybe multiple Chaffies?
Yeah, I am always expecting multiply Cheffies after the 2v2 tournament. I think everybody just saw enough Cheffies in the final from me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I am thinking like I am playing against myself. Like
Yeah.
like in chess, you are always just thinking, what would I do in my opponent's situation?
That's so important. I think a lot of people really get stuck on what they want to do, but you need to think about what your opponent can do so that you can be ready for it. And that sort of goes back to what you're talking about, whatever that Hungarian word for game sense is. Somebody asks, when you lost your one main line, how do you resist rebuilding it? I know you were stalling for Stas, Colin, but still being down one unit plus the kitten. You got to remember that he went Jaeger. So with the Jaeger and 2 PGs plus an MG42, he essentially has 4 combat. Well, he's got a weapon team, but the MG42 is like sort of fills a role
And
of
also the flex 30 is protecting the middle, so
and the flag.
yeah.
Yes, you've got 5 combat units that can fight infantry, so that's plenty.
And also I am up on combat units because there is the ranger, and he has 2 rifles and 1 captain without any upgrade. So every infantry that I have is going to kill on one his infantry. So basically, if you check the army values, mine is better because every squad is beating his on one, and we have basic. And I am also up on pop, but also he tagged tier 4. So in here, I thought about building another Strostupman, but that would be greedy. But for example, in here I was even floating a bit because I didn't know what he's going to do, because maybe I expected a second Cheffy, then I would go for a second Shrek. But if he's going for tier 4, the second Strostupman would be a huge miscall, for example. It's not good to float more than 300 manpower, but as I said, I was experiencing with this build. A mortar would be nice, but I should have built that mortar around before the 10-minute mark.
Would you ever consider going Martyr after you've built tier 4? Like, let's say you bring out the P4, and then you see a 105 Sherman, or you see a Hellcat. Is there any situation where you go that the Martyr is worth it, or would you always bank fuel for the next tier 4 vehicle?
If I have tier 2.5 tag, yes, but versus USF, there is no point to tag, because if you really think about it, if you want to play verbal wins versus a USF player, you have to even tag for the verbal win.
Yeah, it's 110 fuel.
Yeah, and if you just add up the resources, that's 450 manpower and 110 fuel, and he's going to counter your verbal wind with a 225 manpower for Cheffy. So what are we talking about?
Right.
Is it really worth to go for a verbal wind? He can easily just be a 2 Cheffys from that price when you are just building 1 verbal wind, so it's never worth it.
Yeah, you've convinced me, I think.
That was nice. I don't know if you saw that.
Is it a tech ground or?
No, it just bugged out and it just shot the...
Oh, the hit was shooting the captain.
I don't know what happened there, but yeah.
Someone asked about showing a loss, but I think you have you lost since you figured out the strategy, or are all your losses while you were still working
Yeah,
on it?
I can easily show a loss versus. Yeah, I wanted to show a loss, but it just out of my 10 recent matches because that's the 11th.
Oh,
But for example, I played one weekly before, so I can show that for example.
and if you want, don't worry, Fozzie, because I'm gonna try the strat next and lose, and then you can watch what I do.
For example, if you lose a grand like that to a demo charge, I am not going to say anything to that, but you know my opinion on it. But
Well, they were
I would
banned at
say
the
it's
tournament for a reason.
yeah, for a reason. But it's always worth to rebuild your grandier. You don't have to be shy just not to rebuild because it's always worth, because you can always match into more expensive squads. You have the one more Faust, or sorry, one more snare if it's needed.
So
And
two
also
is
the
your
DS.
two is your main is your number that you want to stick out with the Grens.
Yeah, I would say you always want to stick with 2 grands throughout the game, just to move the grands with your Strossuppens and Jägers. That's the idea. But if you are playing mechanized, you want to move the grands with your PGs. Even in super late game, you can move 2 Strossuppens, and both of them has 1 grand on the side. So it's hard to stop the Strossuppen. Basically, you really need to tech for snipers, or even going for a bulldozer or multiply tanks to counter the Strossuppen with a gun. But sniper is not really a counter to that, because you are just constantly going to merge and not bleeding anything
Right.
or anything
Significant.
significant. And when you are playing against rangers, you always want to know when the ranger is.
Mustered for battle. Bastards have secured our territory from us.
Yeah, for example, what I was thinking, that 2 of my squads is on the Rangers retreat path, and I saw that the Rangers was moving towards the middle. So my idea was that I am going to push the middle, and I am going to coming back from this direction, and just
Right.
make the Rangers retreat.
Uh,
Oh, I
Debaka
even
wants to know
killed a.
about officer quarters. That's a nice pickup. Like when you get officer quarters, I think the thing is like usually you'd want to get officer quarters for your tier 2, but because you're getting it for tier 1, do you feel like it delays tier 4 too much to also get it for tier 2 most of the time, or how do you decide about that?
It's again it depending on the situation. If recently I started to watch a lot of Age of Empires, and that game has the perfect dynamic because you always have to react on your opponent plays. I am sure you know that, Daniel, because
Mhm.
you played it with me and you are also playing it. So, for example, if your opponent is going heavy TRC like USF, you can't really tech up to tier 4 because you are going to lose. Because in Age of, we just call it he's all-inning, and if you are just letting him all-inning, you are going to lose the game.
Right. You
So
can't go to castle if someone's feudal all inning you.
yeah, for example, that's the perfect example for that. But it's different in Co. But I am started to look on Co differently since I am watching
Oh, interesting.
more Age of.
Right. So let
sometimes
me summarize it for people. So because some people maybe haven't played Age of Empires and don't know what the hell I mean by someone feudal ending and you go to castle. What F3riG's saying is that if your opponent's going to stay in tier 3, and this I think is mostly about armored battle group, but it can be with other battle groups too. But if your U.S. opponent is staying on tier 3, they're not spending any manpower fuel on going up to tier 4. They're just continuing to build units out of tier 3, and they're going to use those units to attack you and probably go all in. If you stop building units from your tier 2 and try to spend 300 manpower and 110 fuel teching up, you're going to be behind in units and you could die. And so in that situation, you might stay on tier 2, build more Jaegers, and get the officer's quarters so those Jaegers have Vet 1 and Cloak, right?
yeah, and then when you are just stabilized and feel confident, or you have the map control, you can tech up and you can spam P4, so you don't wanna skip stages. And also, you can just play your own build. You have to react to your opponent's builds and what he's doing. Yeah, and this is the situations that you want to avoid when the Chaffee is just going in. I think if he's just diving in, it's worth to give one Chaffee for a P4.
Yeah.
But he
Did
was
you,
a
did
bit
you not have the
hesitant in
Faust
here.
on the Gren there? Maybe
I
not.
think
Huh?
I had. I think I
Okay.
had.
I was going to
Or
say, I
no,
thought you were going to point
I
out how good
already.
it was you had the second Gren, because it looked like you had an
Uh,
opportunity.
yeah, I already Fausted, but
Oh,
it
when it was coming
didn't
in,
get
yeah.
engine. Yeah, but yeah, I could wipe that ranger, for example, because that was the original idea, just going back. But I could get caught off guard 8 again, so I decided to kill it first, and after just going back, it was nearly a good catch up, but it survived on very low HP.
Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, but you have two options when you are wiping a squad, or you can take the win and just stabilize and just go again, or you can just push more. So, but again, it comes really down to game sense again, because you have to know the timings. Maybe if your opponent haven't built any tanks, or you haven't seen any new units, maybe he tagged up and bulldozer or a EZ8 or something else coming out from the US player. So you have to find the perfect balance when you are pushing, when you want to be a bit greedy, or when to want to stabilize and not pushing more.
Yeah, I think that goes back to thinking about your opponent's game and not your game, right? You need to look every few minutes at the timer, and people should know like 20 minutes is like more than enough time to have a tank out. I mean, it changes the timings because you've had a lot of the map, and he built Chaffee and M8, but still, right at 20 minutes, like you're gonna see a vehicle, and so you need to be aware of that. Like you say, when you're deciding, should I push? Is it safe to try to gamble for a wipe? Right? You have to. You can't just say, what do I have? You have to say, what could be coming out of the fog of war at me.
And the other thing, when you are playing versus rangers, rangers cost a lot of manpower, not just in price. Their upkeep is 45 manpower per reinforce. I think I know that number exactly, but it's a lot. So when you can kill a lot of ranger modules, you know that your opponent has to go for advanced logistics, but he doesn't. He's going to delay everything. He won't have bars, his light vehicles, his tech. So I would say it's quite a late tech for USF to go for tier 4 and bulldozer at 25 minutes.
Yeah. Give me one sec,
And
F3riG's, 1 sec.
yeah, it's okay. Just take your time.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
We are losing ground. The enemy has the lead. Blitzkrieg tactics are
Yeah, and for example, in here, I saw that he's trying to make a good push into the middle. Oh, which one is it? This one, yeah. So my squads were on low HP, so it's just better just to mass retreat in this situation and not bleeding or not losing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And after just going back to the field.
the enemy has taken a victory point.
And also I was in a quite good position if you check the pop, and also I had 2 P4s. And I knew that I just killed an AT gun. And with rangers, you are going to struggle with manpower if you don't take advanced logistics. But if you take, you are going to delay your tier 4 more and more. So in this game, I expected that he didn't take logistics, and I was right, because he went for a bulldozer. But because that I could kill an AT gun, and I had 2 P4s, and he went for a bulldozer, the chances that he doesn't have any AT versus my 2 P4s expect the Chaffee. I take that chance and just dive that P4 while
Right.
I was trying to push up with the Jaeger. If anything bad happens, I can follow up with the Jaeger. And also when I saw that the Chaffee is out of positions, and I haven't seen any AT gun, which was also out of positions, watching it back. So it was the right choice, for example. But also I made that choice if I am not killing that AT gun, it would be a risky play, for example.
Right, because there could be double AT gun.
Yeah, it can be, and double AT gun and the Chaffee is it's much bigger of a threat than double AT gun, especially with the special runs on the
Yeah, AP.
this ability is super dangerous.
We have the lead.
And also I just try to follow up with the Jaeger just to support my P-Force.
The enemy has claimed our sector.
Yeah, and for example in here, if you just pick up a bulldozer or anything, just take the win, and it's better to just falling back, because if I am pushing more forward, Ranger were already coming out of the base from the bazooka. And I knew that he has one more Chaffee, so it would be a bit too greedy if I am just pushing forward.
Yeah, you already got a win here.
Our front line failed. 250 points remain for us.
Yeah, this squad is insane. you just W and just kill everything. It was actually quite close.
Oh, but you find the AT gun. Wow, that's like could be game actually. I think it is. Oh yeah, Shrek's here.
Yeah, and I just put the shack into the house. Wanted to kill the Chaffee. I even wanted to attack run, but I think it missed. Or it didn't go through.
Oh,
It was close, yeah.
very close.
And also I moved up everything. I pushed up my flex 30 just to hold the middle. And in these kind of pushes, you always want to move everything forward. So you don't want to let your infantry just back and doing the P first all the work. So you always, if you just committing to a dive, you always have to move everything.
Yeah,
But
what
at
I
the same
suggest
time,
people
it's-
do. Oh, go ahead.
At the same time, you don't want to lose anything. So yeah, that's when the micro comes into play.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Thanks, Oppenwell. Appreciate it, man. Sure, Momo will appreciate the banjo emotes. Oh, yeah, but so I was going to say, what I would say is if you're making a big push like this, when in doubt, it's okay, I think, to open your attack map up and drag select your army and attack move it in. And then you need to micro individual pieces of it, right? But it's ideal that at least everything is moving up so it's like in the fight. You don't want to have anything that's like sitting in the back and then you almost win a fight but don't quite win it because you didn't have everything there.
Also, it's easier, I would say, just to move your infantry first and after your tanks. Because your tanks always will be faster than your inf, so it makes the push more consistent and everything just goes at the same time, I would say. Because
Yeah.
if you just right click everything, your inf is going to be behind your tanks and maybe.
Yeah. Hey, Ritsu, thank you very much for the raid. Hope your stream went well. One thing else you can do, Fozzie, is this is why I like to put personally all of my main lines on a hotkey, a control group, and then put all my vehicles on a hotkey, because it lets me, without looking, move my infantry forward, like F3riG was saying, and then I can select my tanks and move them all forward, and I can be looking at the front that I'm going to attack across and positioning my squads with the tab key. And it can make it much easier to pull that off.
We have lost it. We have
Oh,
lost
nice pick up
control
there.
of the victory
Nice game.
Yeah, I am going to show a lost game, what I just played versus Reckley. That was the downside, I would say, but how
Weakness,
you can
maybe?
mess up.
Potential pitfalls, we could say. Give me 1 sec. I gotta grab some tea. Okay. Oh yeah, Tunis. This is a map that I've struggled with MP40s on sometimes.
MP40s works on this map. On this map, I would say it's better to go for a Captain. What I am going to misplay in this match that I went for a Flex 30 instead of a Mortar, but also huge thumbs up to Reckley because he used his Mortar nearly perfectly with the airburst. It's also better just to keep the fog off, right?
Yeah, I think this is good. It's good because then we can talk about what we expect to see from the enemy in the fog of war. I toggle it sometimes, but I've started leaving it off
And
generally.
also when you have a strategy and just you see the matchup that you are against USF, you already want to think about what your opponent is going to build. So currently there is the Assault Engineer build, the only rifle opening, or you can go for a Fast Engineer, then 3 rifles, you can go double Pathfinders, and also you can go for a Jeep, that sometimes I do. But most likely these are the options. Other than that, everything is, I would say, off meta. Or what's your opinion on that, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few WSC plays where people go like, Pathfinder MG into quad. So the fast quad, I think, is definitely something to be aware of and be prepared for. You don't want to get caught too off guard by it. But you'll know it's coming because you won't see rifles. So someone asked, by the way, about your control groups and tabbing micro or tech map techniques, which is kind of general. But if you have control group recommendations while we watch this early game.
I'm using control groups, tab, and tech map at the same time. Usually, my most important unit, or which I want to control the most, is always the number one. In this situation, it's the captain. So I am always put the number one on the captain card. Number 4 is always my engineers. So that's what I get used to from Code 2. My 80 guns is number 2. If I have an indirect fire, which is, for example, a mortar that can smoke, that's usually the number 3. And if I have a howitzer, Nebelwerfer, or anything like that, that's usually number 5.
Let's. I'll say. Can you pause real quick? Because I want to talk about that, and then I want to share something real quick. First, let's show people the wire you just laid. I think not everybody knows about this wire. So this wire does two things. It denies the house from that side, and it denies the green cover of that cart. So that's like one of the best single pieces of wire you can lay in Company of Heroes 3. It just does so much. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out. What I would say about the control groups, the most important thing is that you are consistent with the control groups across games that you play. So decide what's comfortable for you. There's not a correct answer. Just like with the TAC map hotkey, there's not one correct way to do it. It doesn't have to be on your mouse. It doesn't have to be on your keyboard. What's key is that you pick something that feels good for you and that you continue to use it. So like, doesn't matter if you're playing Brits or US or DAC, your AT guns should be on 2 or 4 or 8. It doesn't matter, right? Just whatever's comfortable for you and that you're consistent. So that when you're getting dove by 3 chaffies, you don't have to think about it. You're going to press your AT gun hotkey and you're going to have those things ready
definitely.
to micro.
And also you can use the number 0 hotkey. In Code 2 you couldn't use it, but in Code 3 there is a possibility just to build something on the number 0 key. I haven't got used to it, but it can be super nice.
One thing too that people I don't think know is you can remap how you do your hotkeys. It takes a little bit of work because you have to remap them twice. But for example, I have I think 8 and 9 because that's too. I don't like reaching that far. I have 8 and 9 on my side mouse buttons. So I put like my Ketten on my front mouse button or the top one, and I put my indirect fire on the bottom side mouse button. So that's an option too for people who feel like they don't want to reach all the way to 8 or 9, but they want to have the other hotkeys available. You can put them on any key, those control groups. So that's a nice thing to do too.
Yeah, it comes down to personal preference. So everybody does it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And on Road to Tennis, this building is super important to control because you have a ton of vision from that. And he can't really push this side of the map if you control this house. I was just trying to scout where my opponent is. As Wehrmacht, I would say it's always better just to keep your MG around each side of the map.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually the weak point of Wehrmacht, you always have to know your weaknesses, what you are playing as. For example, as Wehrmacht, you can be that much, you can be that aggressive, for example, as USF. In Q2, you could do that because your guns were stronger, and if you could pick up a good fight, your guns just beat riflemen's in long range, even if you could support with the MG, but in Q2 it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when I saw that he has 2 units on my side, I tried to go for a cutoff, which was a success. You can always try to do plays like this. He didn't even cap his own side. Yeah, that's a bit greedy in my opinion. I would say the scout could easily cap his
Yeah,
side.
this is correct.
Oh no, it's capped. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
My
it just takes a
tech was
second.
just bugged.
I was like, wow, that's greedy.
Yeah, but he capped it. It was just a bug.
Okay, early grenades. So when you say early grenades, how does that change? Can you talk a little bit about like how your positioning, your decision making does or should change when you see that?
Definitely, I am going to be a bit more cautious with my MG because he can easily stall it with a good nade.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens when you are playing versus Pathfinders, because the Pathfinders have a rifle nade, also a smoke nade, and you never know when he's shooting the smoke or the rifle nade. So, and also he can spot your MG, so it's easier for the USF player just to flank your MG and just put the smoke on it or even a rifle nade. Sorry. But
Yeah.
in here, he
threw that
threw
grenade
2
already, so you're
grenades.
kind of
Yeah,
safe.
he
Yeah.
threw 2 grenades, so I knew that he won't have a third grenade, that even I could cut off this strategic point, so even he doesn't have any munition in income. So for example, in here, I knew that I am safe. I can just push him with the gun and the engineer.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important
And
too to
here
note
he
that
just-
even if he had the munitions, it's important to track grenade cooldowns. If you see both of the rifles on your screen have thrown a grenade, then you know no more. It's 30 seconds, I think, is the cooldown, so you know there's no grenades coming for quite a while. But if another rifle shows up, now the calculation changes. But yeah, that's a good shout out.
In here, I could go for the straight fuel point because I saw that he committed that to my side, so I could go there. In here, I could push up and just force the scout off. Maybe that would be the right play, but because my pioneer was a bit low health and my grenade, I just decided to take the save. But I think it was a misplay from my side, for example.
The thing is like I've lost to grand models closing on the scout before. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like sometimes you don't want to. I like this better waiting until once he loses the model, I think I would close there.
Yeah, the reason why I say it's a misplay from me because I am also wasting my time that I could just force off the scout, just retreat the grand, and coming up with a full head squad.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Then I am just wasting my time and not doing anything. So that was definitely a misplay. And he is fighting with 1 unit against 2, so it's better for him.
Right.
An officer shall preside over our
But if you see your opponent is going for an early mortar as USF and you have Mp40s, you definitely have to be aggressive because he has 1 less unit to work with if you just push in.
Yeah, someone asks if you don't play MP40s and you don't see an engineer, would you spam mines?
Usually, if you don't go Mp40s, you always want to spam mines as well, because where are you going to spend your munitions? You can also go for bundle nades, but there is not much else. Yeah, that's the only update, or shacks if you go for tier 2.
Mines are guaranteed value, though. I think I think you should always, especially if you go Ketten, because the Ketten can lay mines and it's not clear. If you lay mines with the Pio, they can be spotted. If you lay mines with the Ketten, it's always invisible. I mean, people can see the Ketten standing still, but they don't know if you're laying a mine or if you're just AFK. So I think it's always good to lay mines if you're not going up your 40s and you have Ketten, yeah.
And this is the power of MP40s, that you are winning the fights versus rifleman.
Mm-hmm.
And I am on his cutoff. And he didn't make any huge misplays. This is just the advantage of the MP40s in the early game and the wet one. It's also good to know that that you are always going to out-wet your opponent if you just take a wet one.
Right.
Because you are wetting faster, you can stay on the field, you will have a better KD with MP40s, and it's always nice to fight with wetted squads with against non-wetted, or even if you has wet too, maybe the rifle's only wet ones, so it's nice. And maybe I didn't pop. Maybe I could pop a breakthrough in here and just cap everything. And also it's super nice that from wet 2 your grants will have more damage on the Faust, so it's also benefit from that.
Yeah, it's like almost not with Sprint and the buffed Faust. It's like they're almost done. I mean, they are like another light vehicle counter.
Yeah, and in here, because I knew that he went for a early mortar, I can just make constant pressure on his cutoff and on his rifles.
Right, and the reason for that is because, guys, seeing the 3 rifles and grenades and the mortar, there's no way that at 7 minutes there's also a Greyhound. The Greyhound can come at 7 minutes, but only if you just go 3 rifle into M8. So the fact that he's seen the mortar means he knows no M8, which means he can be aggressive.
And also I could decapture his cutoff multiplied times. Maybe that's the 3rd time, so he surely has no fuel.
Right, that's a good point. Another reason why there can't be an M8.
So he can go for bars, he can go for fast Greyhound, so that's basically a win-win situation.
Someone
And
asked why you
here I
didn't
would
go
say-
rapid production for the 221. Is it because you want to rush the Stas?
It's my bad.
Okay.
It's just simply my bad, yeah. Sometimes I'm making mistakes too. And also I was floating a bit.
Yeah, this is
So
why don't
in
feel
here,
bad, guys,
I
when you
wasn't
mess up
on
in your
top.
games.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad. I think people like watch themselves play and go, "Wow, I'm making mistakes. I'm so bad." But really good players. The game is not that easy. The game has a very high skill floor, so don't ever beat down on yourself if you make mistakes. I think it's really important to just be aware of them and plan on improving them, but don't ever let them get you down.
And as you can see, I made plenty of mistakes. For example, in here, I should have closed the distance. I floated a bit. I didn't pick rapid production.
Yeah.
I was a bit too focused on the calling. Maybe it would be a right choice, but I was a bit afraid of the Greyhound. It would
Yeah.
be maybe that would be a bit too greedy if I am just going straight for the Strosstruppen, because imagine that you are having a 8-minute Strosstruppen and your opponent doesn't have any bars and light vehicles.
Mhm.
That's GG basically. But yeah, in here I would say on Road to Tunis, where are multiply buildings, what you want to control, and use the smoke just to smoke off these green covers, it's a must. Even with Wehrmacht, with this strategy. Because I am getting the flex 30, and to be fair, it didn't do anything during the match. He just used the airburst on the
yeah.
mortar.
All of my losses to US on this map are actually to airburst more than to the rest of the faction.
Yeah, and as you can see, I am trading positively versus riflemans with the MP40s. And I am even having the VP lead, so I am taking pressure, going for the cutoffs, playing aggressive, so it's not impossible.
Yeah. Someone asked if so. Comrade, he was not afraid of the M8 because he saw the mortar and he had done the cutoff, so that's why he wasn't worried about the Jägerschreck right away. Plus, he has the 221 out, so he can upgrade the Panzerbuska, and he has 3 Fausts. So.
Also, you want to keep your 221 next to your grants. Just if a Greyhound just wants to dive, you can always Faust.
Yeah, that's crucial.
Yeah, and I wanted to build a mortar, but I went for a Jaeger. Yeah, in this situation that was the right call because the Greyhound is coming out. And again, I was a bit too greedy with the Captain. So this is what I have to learn, that around the 10-minute mark, I just have to keep it for the vision.
It's pretty funny how close to the last game you lost the kitten to like in the exact same way.
Yeah. But it's important to know your mistakes, and
Mm-hmm.
if you learn from it, that matters. If you don't learn, that's the bigger problem. And when I saw the 2-1, I am just upgrading the Panzerbücher. That was also a bit greedy for me.
Yeah, he sees that mine.
Yeah,
And it could
usually-
kill you too.
Yeah, yeah, that was a bit risky. But sometimes you can do this type of plays because it's a gamble, because he doesn't know if there is a mine or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just little mind games.
Yeah.
And he even killed the model, so it was alright.
I can't believe it. That's pretty funny. It hit the squad anyway. Plus 25 Muni for 30 is not. I mean, if you're ahead on Muni, that's actually
hit
okay.
the mine.
Oh yeah.
But I couldn't close him because the
Rifles,
rifle
yeah.
man just followed up.
Repeat. Enemy is down to 200 points.
I couldn't just jump into the house. That was a bit unlucky. So that's why the airburst is super dangerous to the Flux 30, because you can see one airburst and you basically have to go back to the base.
Yeah.
Instead of the Flux 30, a mortar would be more useful, because I can fight versus the buildings, I can smoke, I can flare, I can do a lot more things. I can counter mortar his mortar, so yeah.
Okay, got an interesting question here. Not to get too off topic, but Funhe asks, "Do we think Rangers need to be nerfed?" I'm curious what your take on that is.
People are going to hate me, but I think Rangers are quite mediocre. They are not that good, in my opinion. But that's on the, if I can say, that's the high level. On the
Yeah.
lower levels, I am sure that players having trouble to deal with Rangers. So.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion. So it's not the same when you are just going to ask a lower rated player if what's his opinion on Rangers. It's totally alright that he's saying that Rangers are unstoppable and he's just can't counter them.
I think that it is a, assuming everybody plays perfect, it's like a 5 out of 10 difficulty to deal with Rangers. But I would say that in terms of effort it requires to use Rangers versus effort it requires to counter them, it's like a 2 out of 10 to use them at low levels and like an 8 out of 10 to counter them. And I think actually that dynamic kind of flips at higher levels. At higher levels, I'm happy when I see Rangers a lot of the time. I know how to deal with them. I'm comfortable dealing with them. I agree with F3riG. I think, I would say, I don't think they're mediocre. I would say that they're a unit that is a sort of a gamble and can be very powerful if used correctly in specific situations. I'd say they're a situational
Yeah,
unit.
definitely.
Like against
In good
Wehrmacht
hands, the
tier
Rangers
3.
can be super dangerous.
Yeah, like if you had gone tier 3 in that game against Dumais, and you had a Panzer Grenadier and Pax on the field, I think the Rangers are very scary. But I think because of the build you did, the Rangers are not that scary. So, yeah, I was glad we could cover that, because I feel like there's a lot of talk at lower levels that Rangers need to be nerfed, that they're too strong. And I think it's an interesting issue about, what do you do about something that feels impossible to beat at lower levels, but it is weak at high levels? And I think the answer is streams like this, right? We're just going to help people learn to deal with them. So anyway,
Yeah,
thanks for answering
everything
that.
is hard to counter if you don't know the answer to it. So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know how to counter the blobs, you say that blobs are OP and you just have to blob, but that's not how it's going.
Yeah.
Usually just people say that you just build an MG or you just see a demo, just sweep it, but that's not that easy.
Yeah, someone asked about the second MG. I know that my experience with second MG is that it's just more airburst bait. But I'm
Yeah.
curious, do you feel the same way?
At your disposal.
Also he has needs, he has a mortar. Even I killed his Greyhound with the Panzerbücher, so it already paid off. And I will have a unit that can counter later tanks, for example, an easy hit because of the wet one ability. So you can also sell spot. So it's even paid off, and it will be useful for me the rest of the game.
Right.
So, but if you check the VPs, that you would say that the game is already have been won, but I managed to throw that. So I make mistakes too. Shit happens.
Victory point lost.
Okay, we're popping breakthrough here.
Yeah, I popped that, but it was a bad pop. I just only put
Yeah.
the decap. And also, I couldn't push up because all of my squads in here was on low HP.
Yeah, so better to pop that probably after a one fight, right? Where you've got units on
Yeah,
the field that are
definitely.
spreading out to cap stuff.
We
Oh.
can say that I was a bit unlucky in here, or I don't know, because I thought that I just killed the Greyhound. At 12 minute mark, he won't rebuild it, but he actually rebuilt it because he went for the armored, not even picked War Machine. But he just insta-killed my MG when I just wanted to support it with the Gran.
An MG42 has been
My Panzerbücher was just coming back in reverse,
enemy hands.
Yeah,
and
that
I
is.
thought it will be risky to just pick it up because I am going to wipe it, but he managed to pull it off, so...
Yeah, I mean, Ko
I
is a
would
game of
say,
gambles for sure. Definitely not
yeah.
a play I would have made as the US player, but you can't fault stuff when it works, right?
Yeah, it was unexpected. It paid off. Also, he didn't know that my Panzerbücher is around here or not because it was in the fog of war, and I just started to rotate it because I felt like, for example, when you are playing as yourself, you have a rifleman in here, for example, and you see that the MG is facing that way. You know that I have a flag that usually around here or in this area. This is where most people play his flag 30. So you know that you can easily push up in this area with multiple rifles because you know that where is the MG and you can guess where is the flag 30 and you can store the MG. Yeah, but I didn't expect another Greyhound even when your opponent knows that you have a Shrek, a flag 30, a Panzerbush and
Yeah.
3 Shreks. So if
It's
you
kind of a
think
weird
about it,
choice.
it's a it's a it's not a stupid play. That's not the right word, but it's a
It's not optimal. But it could be, you could surprise someone. I mean, again, it's a really big
it's a
gamble.
bit
Like to build an
it's
M8
a silly
here.
play, I would say.
Yeah, because if he doesn't wipe the MG there, he got like he like one tapped it, right? If you don't
Yeah,
one tap
and
the
if I just faust
MG,
him, the
yeah,
Panzerbücher just kills it. So yeah, but it paid off. And he also just insta-killed my MG, so that was the second thing. If I can retreat it, I can faust the Greyhound and my MG just remains. So sometimes these little things just makes the difference in this game.
yeah. I think it's the difference between, people who play to win. If you're just trying to spam games and like get your rank up, um, then like taking gambles like that because the game will end sooner one way or the other, and it's like it's the correct play if
Yeah.
your goal is just to climb the ladder because you're going to win bigger, and if he's already behind, so like if you're going to lose faster, and otherwise you're back in the game. So it's the correct play if your goal is not to like play optimally or win most of your games, but your goal is just to win the games you can and move on otherwise.
And that's what I wanted to say, that on the other side, it's understandable that you are taking more risky plays when you are behind because you want to come back into the game. So it's nice.
Yeah, and which means conversely, if you know you're ahead and you know your opponent's playing an aggressive faction like USF, you might consider positioning more conservatively than you maybe feel like you have to because you know that your opponent's going to be looking to make plays potentially.
Yeah, and for me, aggressive playstyle is not means that you are always pushing 24/7 because you can't push the gas all the way because sometimes you have to stop and consolidate. For example, here I was a bit all over the round because of that push. It just disorganized me. So after that, when you're just receiving a loss, as I said, you can do two things. You're just pushing bad and just trying to repunch your opponent, or just try to reorganize everything and just go again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of that just comes down to game state and game sense, like being aware of what units your opponent has or could have on the field, I think.
Commandant.
And this is why I said that Flag 30 was a bad call, because the airburst is just constantly directing the Flag 30. And I can't really play the Flag 30 on the sides, because if the light vehicle is just flanking the Flag 30, he can easily stall it. And I have no counter to the Flag 30, so it's even worse. So that's why I said the mortar would be better, especially on road to Tunis. And if you can see, I just lost an MG, and I would say it's better for the US player because he just get the double bars.
Mm-hmm.
We have lost control of the victory point.
And he just popped up the MG into the house, and I have no counter. Expect the flag 30.
Which in turn gets
But he's-
airbursted immediately.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
the
now
problem.
you're in a terrible position all of a sudden.
Yeah,
This is
And I
really the
was winning,
weakness of
like-
Wehrmacht, is like
yeah.
you lose one piece, and especially if you give that piece to your opponent, and yeah, it goes from really good to really bad so quickly.
So at the other side, that's why you need the Strostrup and Colin, because when the double bar rifle is just starting to just pushing down on the map, you need something that you can fight with versus the rifles. And also, he just repositioned his MG, and I am in a terrible position.
Mm-hmm.
And the flag 30 just getting airbursted as usual. So that's why I am not the biggest fan of the flag 30 versus USF. It's better versus Brits, I would say.
Victory point is under enemy control.
Yeah, so Momo brings up that this build means you can't go Brumbar pack. So do you want to sort of review again, like against USF, why you might want to go P4s instead of Brumbar?
You can go Brumbar. That's again personal preference, but I feel Mp40s is the worst choice when you are facing versus Armored, because if he just decides to spam towards the Greyhounds and just towards the Chaffees, he's just going to outflank your 80 guns, and you are just basically dead. While you are having the Panzerbusch and the Jaeger, you can be more mobile, you can sack your map control, and also you can counter a possible dive. So that's why I think tier 2 is better versus USF with this build. And that's important to say that with this build, because with mechanized you are playing different.
Yeah. Again, to reiterate, guys, for people who maybe weren't here right away too, the idea with this build is Wehrmacht can have a weak early game, and so the idea is to have a build that takes advantage of officers' quarters and MP40s to mitigate that weak early game and get you even or ahead going into the mid game. So you're sacrificing potentially some of the strengths of Wehrmacht in other places like the pack or mechanized in order to make sure that your early game goes well. And so that's just, I think, a combination of a stylistic choice and maybe a map choice.
And even that I knew that the EZ8 is just coming out, so I need to tech up for P4 just to manage to deal with the EZ8s at all. So I was in a really bad spot. And it was just one MG loss. I didn't play perfectly.
Yeah.
I actually felt I played quite bad, but it's okay when you have quite a lead, so you don't have to think about that during the game that I could do that better and so on, because you have to focus on the current game.
Yeah, so someone asked about like if you're sweating versus the triple cap, but as you point out, I think once you get below maybe 200, 175 VPs, you can start to feel like pressure. But if you have a 400 VP lead when things go bad, I think it's, you want to play slow still. You want to be careful. There's no need to rush things.
When you are behind, I would say your goal has to be to secure one side of the map.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the most resources in this situation, this side of the map. But the reason why it is harder on this side of the map rather than this side, because if you want to secure these resources, this house is not that big of a problem for you. But if you want to play around this area, this house is always constantly pressuring you.
Right.
So it's easier to defend this side. In tournaments, usually Axis is the position 2, so this is the Axis side. So I would say it is easier to play as Axis, because it's easier to defend because of the house. That's why Mortar would be better instead of the Flag 30.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to secure one side, you just minimize the bleed, you having one VP, and after slowly just going back on the map.
So is it a mistake then, the way
always-
that you're positioned here with, you've got a Gren on the left VP and on the mid VP? I mean, you're securing 2 VPs, so you're buying yourself some time, but would it maybe have been better to just guarantee that you had your side locked down?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, but the MG was always in this area, so I
Hmm.
tried to just flank a bit or just going from a different angle
Right, that makes
and
sense.
just surprise the MG and maybe just take it back. But I made many mistakes, so it happens. But at the same time you always want to harass the enemy side of the map, so you never want to let your opponent any safe resources. So, for example, I could easily cap it, but if I am not losing the cat, then I can actually do that. So, again, it just comes down to that I lost my captain at the 10-minute mark. But the other option that you are just trying to all-in push the opponent, and you can see what what happens after that. So you have two choices. But
Right.
securing one side, it's, I would say, safer.
You know, it's funny because I think a lot of people, when they're playing against someone they feel is better than them, will play like scared and safer,
Enemy
and they'll play more aggressive against someone who's weaker than them. But I almost think people should have the opposite attitude. If you know you're better than your opponent, you can play slow. You know you'll eventually secure leads, right? Just like through the course of the game. If you're playing against someone on auto match, like if you run into f3riG in auto match, play aggro. Try to take risks, like because you need to take a lead. You know. I think any situation auto match where you feel like you should be able to win the game, I think playing slow is always better.
Yeah, at the same times without any ego, I am always thinking that I am the better. I am going to win this match, even if my
Hmm.
opponent is on paper better. You can't think like that.
point lost.
Yeah, that's a good point. You should just always believe you can win. But some people will use Co3 stats and they'll know what the ELA difference is. But I completely agree with you. I think the winning mentality is a real strength, and believing that you can beat anybody. And Co is a game where anyone can beat anybody. I think
Yeah, definitely.
combination of RNG and just the way the game goes. I've thrown games against people much lower ranked than me who probably would have told themselves they couldn't win if they had looked at Co3 stats, but they did. So they probably didn't look
And
is why they were able to do
also, I am not a big fan of just early GGs. I am always trying to just coming back to the game.
that. Hmm.
Uh, I, I won plenty of games when I was behind and I managed to come back in
Yeah,
auto match and even in tournaments. So it's you never know when your opponent is going to throw the match.
it's very easy to throw in Company of Heroes, which is one of the reasons I think it's such a great game because unlike a lot of other RTS where you have these incremental leads build up and then you just know the game's over and it goes for 20 more minutes. Company of Heroes, because of the way the upkeep system works, you always can come back. It's as long as you have VPs left, the game is not over.
Yeah, definitely. Then yeah, please, yeah, you should tell me that I was unlucky in here or it was my bad.
Okay.
In this situation that it was one bounce. It's okay. It happens.
Okay. Okay, now you're at medium. Oh no, it's side armor now.
I don't know what was that. It just
Okay,
rotated.
pathed around you. Okay. All right,
It needs two
Shrek's
shots.
reloading. Okay, is the
You saw
Shrek?
that? It literally buzzed on the rear. It was the side, but come on, man.
Okay, AT gun misses though, so that's lucky. But you're
Nah,
dead now.
you got
No,
me.
no way it's gonna miss again. Yeah, yeah. I would
So was I
say
unlucky?
I would say yes. I would say moderately to very unlucky there.
And I even lost my Strossupen, so it was basically game.
Yeah,
Has been felled by enemy
yeah.
fire.
That's
I
game.
was just so pissed about it because I just saw it and I was like, fuck it.
Enemy forces have captured a victory point.
For the first time, I thought I bounced from the rear, but it was actually the side armor.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
these
it's
eights
still
have a lot of
insane.
armor.
Sector overrun.
It
Does
has
he?
110 on the side. Yeah, 110.
Yeah, man, that's pretty good.
Territory lost.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's basically GG because he just gets the. Actually, he's reading a lot. He doesn't have. Logistics. Yeah, he don't have. So if you have that much infantry after the first E8, I think it's worth it, like, the logistics.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. To me, it's definitely a after the first vehicle kind of thing. Hey, Nate, thanks for the raid, man. Appreciate it. Hope your games went well.
And this is what you can see that from a total winning position, you can easily just lose the game. And from that, I am just trying to secure one side, but he has a lot more units than me.
Mm-hmm.
But I am still trying. You never know. And it's also better to just get used to not to surrender, because if you just always just giving up the match so early on, maybe when you can really just come back into the game, you just won't believe it, and you just GG.
Yeah. Plus, your opponent could lose power. They could their cat could jump on their lap. You just never know what'll happen. And also, I think playing from behind is an important skill. And some games you'll be very behind. Some games you'll just be a little bit behind. And so, always playing your best the whole game is just a good habit to build, I think. About
Definitely.
never going, oh, it's over, I'm going to throw my units away, because it's. I mean, I already said habit building, but it's basically that. It's like you want to be in the mode where every time you're using a unit, you're being smart about it, right? You're making good choices. You don't want to like sometimes, oh, I'm not going to try that hard. I think this is a mistake that I know I make, where if I think the game's over, sometimes I'll play sloppy, and then I'll go into the next game playing sloppy. Whereas if you're always playing your best, then you go into each game playing your best, and you'll perform better.
And to be fair, what you are practicing, this is what you are going to do in a not real is the right word, but in a real situation, when it actually matters in the tournament. When you are just always maiming around in auto match, this is what you are going to do, or in the real tournament.
Yeah.
Or when it actually matters, what you are doing, you can do that because you haven't practiced it enough. So
exactly.
I hope you know what I am trying to say by that.
Absolutely, yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. Trains asks about a second Jaeger instead of a flak, but yeah, we have covered that kind of. It's like you'd get a second Jaeger if you see multiple light vehicles, but here we only saw, we saw an M8 and then a replacement M8 and then straight to the EZ8, and the Jaegers do not do well against the EZ8s, so.
And also, I had already a Panzerbüsche, which is already 2 hunters and plus the Faust, so that would be an overkill, and double bar rifles would have hurted me a lot more if I am going for double Jaegers instead of a Strauss.
Exactly, yeah. 915123387. Thank you very much for the follow. Cool name. I hope that's maybe that's your net worth, and you want to give us some gift subs or something. Someone asks about the GG moments, so I'm going to see if I can get them, and you let me know if I miss any. I think I'll go do some small ones. The first small GG moment was fighting the scout with 2 squads. The really big one.
That was a misplay.
It was a misplay, but not the GG moment. The biggest one was building the flak, then losing the MG, which was unlucky, but could have been mitigated by putting it in cover or giving it better vision, and then.
And it was F3 in the end of the game, so it definitely the
so
crucial
much.
point.
And then that final fight, with the P4 and the EZ8 was the other big one.
Yeah, that was the final, but I was already behind, so these are the crucial points.